Okay, so everything come up the absolute value will be positive, right? So for example, let me show you. If I have an absolute value of 3, right? We know this is 3. But if I have an absolute value of -3, it's also 3, right? And absolute value of 0, of course, that's 0, okay? So everything come up from the absolute value is always greater than or equal to 0, okay? It won't be negative. All right, so that's the absolute value. If you graph this one right here, this is 0, and then when x is -1, y should be 1 if I have y equal to absolute value of x, right? And x equal to +1, y is also +1. So this graph will look something like that, okay? Like a V shape. So that's y equal to absolute value of x in here, okay? So, and then you have a y equal to absolute value of x plus 1. That means this graph is similar to this one, okay? But when you have an absolute value of x plus 1, that means moving to the left for 1 unit, okay? So I have an absolute value of x. This is moving to the left for 1 unit. So that means when x is -1, this will be 0. So this is moving here to the 1 unit to the left. All right, so this is 1 unit to the left, something like that. All right, so that is, we call this one is y2. This will be y2 in here, okay? All right, so another way here is you can also put this one in a calculator, okay? We do allow you to use the TI-83 or 84 calculator on the test for college algebra, all right? So let me show you how to graph this one in a calculator. You go to y equal to, okay? And then where do you find the absolute value? Or if I graph just y equal to x, that will be a straight line, right? So let's make a quick graph in here, right? And then I graph y equal to x squared. This one will be a parabola, right? So we will graph that. So this is a parabola facing up, okay? All right, so if I want to graph y equal to absolute value of x, I have to go to find the absolute value first. So this is under the math, and then go into number. All right, you move to here, in here, number. So ABS, that's the absolute value. All right, so when I enter here, now I have an absolute value, right? So this is the absolute value of x, okay? This one is absolute value of x in here, and then I graph that. So you can see this is y equal to absolute value of x, right? And if you go to second graph, you will see all the table in here. Look at that. So you can see all the table. So when x is -1, y will be positive, -11, y will be +11, right? And then x is -3, y will be +3, right? So you can see all the way up and down. When x is 0, y is also 0. When x is 4, y is also 4. So that is y equal to absolute value of x. Look at that, right? And if you do not know how this graph will move, right? Hold on. If you do not know how the graph will look at that, you can graph another one. Okay, so we go to math, and then we go to number, find the absolute value, and then I have x plus 4. Okay, x plus 4. All right, and then we hit enter, and then we graph. All right, so this one, x plus 4, is the red one, right? It's a red one right here. So that means, look at this vertex. It doesn't move to the left for 4 units. Okay, so these two graphs actually is the same graph. It's just moving to the left for 4 units in here. All right. Okay, so that is how you do this type of graphing. Okay, this one is only y absolute value of +1. Okay, all right. So if you change it into +1, let's only move to 1 unit. Okay, you can have just +1. All right, and then this time will be only move to the left for 1 unit. All right, and if you have a x minus 2, that means moving to the right. Okay, so go to math, number, absolute value. Ooh. All right, so x, like I said, minus 3. All right, ooh, not 33, it's a bit too big. Okay, so that means this time minus 3, that means moving to the right for 3. You know how does the graph moving to the left or right? You can see this x has to be 3 for this y to be 0, right? So this one is moving to the right, okay? Moving to the right for 3 units, all right? Okay, so that is a little bit graphing. Like I said, you can use the TI-83 or 84 and it will giving you the really clear graph, okay? For this one right here, this is going to step by step how to calculate the point in here, the order pair, right? You can plug x equal to -4 in, and then you have +1, so you have a 3. You have all these order pair, and then you can combine them together. But you can also look at it from the table, right? Y2 is the one absolute value of x plus 1, right? So you will have this one right here, okay? So this is exactly where you have y1, y2, and y3, okay? So if you don't really want to calculate by hand, you can go to the calculator using the table. Second graph is the table. All right, let me show you how the calculator works. This calculator, actually, each one has 3 buttons, right? Look at it. If I input 8, if I just click A, I got 8, okay? And if I hit second 8, I got a V. V, that means it's a blue one. So every time you want to exit the blue one, you have to hit second first. And then there's a green one right here. If you want to hit a green one, you have to hit alpha. Alpha 8 will get a P. Look at it. Okay, so that is the 3 function in here. So the table here is a blue one, okay? If you hit graph, you will get a graph, right? But if you want to access this table in here, the table is blue color, so you need to hit second graph, and we're showing you the table. All right, so that's how the calculator works. It doesn't matter which calculator you have, pretty much similar. You know, they usually have a 3 button, right? Like I said, this one right here, showing you one more time, right? If I hit 5, I got 5, right? And I hit second 5, I will get an L5, okay? And if I hit alpha 5, I got this green one, I got a U right here, okay? So that is how the calculator works. If you know this one, will be pretty straightforward, right? So if you hit second graph, you will get a table, all right? Any questions? Let's see if we have any question. You can always jump in. If you have any question, you can always jump in, okay? Or you can unmute yourself and talk. I don't mind you talk in the middle if you have question. Or you can type it in the chat here. I will try to check the chat every once in a while, okay? Or you can just unmute yourself or unmute the mic here and then you can talk. All right, so that is the graph, right? So that's the graph in here, and then graphing utilities. You can using the calculator. You can set up the window. Okay, this is showing you a little bit. Okay, let me show you the real calculator. All right, so we can go to window here. Look at it. This is window here, right? So window, if you have a little bit, this is a default. But if you want to expand a little bit, I can have a -20, okay? And then maybe this is also 20 in here. Now, if I look at this graph, oh, that is too small, right? That's kind of become too crowded. Because my X maximum, I hit should be 20, not 200. All right, so now you can see this is kind of a little bit cloudy in here, okay? You can come back here to reset your window, okay? Or sometimes you can go to Zoom, okay? I like to go to Zoom. Sometimes when you go to Zoom and then you can zoom free, right? So you can have a zoom free. This will give you the entire screen. Okay, so let's see if I hit zoom free. Let's see what happens. Look at that. So this is zoom, like it occupies the entire screen, right? And if you don't want to zoom this way, you can zoom to standard. Okay, number 6 is also the one I like to use. You can cursor it down, or you can just type a 6. Okay, and you zoom number 6 that way. So it zoom to the standard. So whatever the Windows standard, so that's the default. All right, so if you the zoom in, zoom out, or you can zoom square, or you can zoom to the standard. If you using the graph y equal to sine cosine in a trigonometry, you zoom trig, right? That way. All right. So those are the things that you can use for the calculator. All right, so if graph passing the x-axis is considered the x-intercept, the graph passing the y-axis is the y-intercept, okay? So look at this graph. You have this one, graph passing the y-axis, that's the y-intercept. Graph passing the x-axis, this one is the x-intercept, okay? So when you have an x-intercept, y is always 0 because the graph passing the x-axis. When you're passing the y-axis, x is 0, okay? So the x-axis here, if you write down in an order pair, right? Write down in an order pair, it will be through -3 and 0. Okay, let's see, I'm trying to get in. All right, so this point right here for the y, this if you write down x first, right? So this order pair will be 0 and 5, okay? 0 and 5 that way. So that is the y-axis. All right. So the y-intercept here, y is 5, or just write down 5, okay? All right, so how do we interpret the information given by graph? Okay, look at this one is a little bit application. It said divorce rate are considerably higher for those who marry younger, but education may also play a role in the longevity of the marriage. So this one is the equation. Model the percentage D of the marriage that end in divorce. So divorce and n years, okay, n is n years when marriage with a high school but no college education, whatever they say. All right, so determine the percentage of marriage ending in divorce after 15 years for high school graduate without a college degree, okay, with no college. All right, so that's the model in here, right? So you can say, well, n is 15 with the divorce rate. Well, you can just multiply it in, okay? So using 1.8 times 15 plus 14, right? So whatever they come out with. All right, so yeah. Or how do you put it in a calculator? Well, you can go to the calculator. Look at this one right here. You can have a 1 point what? I already forget. 1.8, okay, 1.8 times 15, 1.8 times 15, right? And then plus 14, okay? And then you hit enter. Oh, you got a 41. Wow, that is pretty high, right? After 15 years, the divorce rate is 41%. All right, so that is considered a high one, okay? So that's consider when people marry young, right? The divorce rate become a little bit higher for some reason. Okay, so that is the first one, the first section in here in the PowerPoint. You can see if you go through this PowerPoint, each section we were giving you a little bit quick overview for the section. All right, and then if you read the textbook, it will give you a little bit more detail, but at least this will giving you a little bit quick summary for the entire section. Okay, and actually when I do the 100% lecture, that's usually what we have. We go through the every PowerPoint slide by slides, right? And then, like I say, when we have time, we let people practice a little bit calculator, and then let people calculate this formula on their own. So that is pretty much how you do the 100% lecture in here. Okay, but I just want to give you all this one in here so you can see how they work. So you have a link to this folder. All right, and then if you go here, you can go through like a section by section in here. The first chapter, you have 7 sections, but let's see what we got in here. If you go to the assignment, okay, I just want to see how many sections we have for the first chapter. Okay, so the reason I put it a little bit this one, a little bit assignment in here, some of them is trying to letting you just review a little bit. Okay, so if I go to the assignment here, you will see we have a 1.12. We skipped the 1.3, looks like. Okay, so we skipped the 1.3. We didn't have a 1.3, but you have a we skipped the 1.3 and 1.6. All right, so that is the chapter 1, and after the chapter 1 here, you will have a little bit review. You will have a little bit chapter review in here, and then you will have a test 1. Okay, test 1 here, you will require the lockdown browser. So before you open the test 1 here, I want you to go ahead, test your lockdown browser. This one you have a lot of tries, right? So lockdown browser, you test it earlier, way earlier before the test 1, so you can see if your computer set up for that. Okay, so you can do this one. You can do a little bit testing. The password here is, okay, let me type in a password for you. Password here for the quiz and the test is the same. It's 4/2025 no space. Okay, oh yeah, some people going to the Zoom. No, we don't use the Zoom. We always using the Microsoft team. Okay, just the college don't use the Zoom. We have an official channel here is the Microsoft team. All right. Okay, any questions? So this is kind of showing you how you get started. Now we're gonna jump into the test review. Okay, yeah, I know some people say we are just started, but you're gonna have a test review already, because I think a test review is the best time to use this 25% of the course time. It will giving you a lot of information and summaries, and you can always come back to watch this video later on when you finish all the section. Okay, but at least you will giving you the best view on for all this chapter gonna look like. Okay, so we will go through this review in here, and then I will letting you to do all the PowerPoint on your own. Okay, so as I said earlier, you can always come back here to read through all the PowerPoint. Like I said, section 1.3 and 1.6 is not required, so you don't have to look at those sections. Okay, just you can check the homework section here, check the assignment, and then go to read those sections only, okay? All right, so now let's look at this review in here. This one is a graph for the y equal to absolute value of x plus 1, and then you want to let you calculate x equal to -3, all this value, and then you find the y value, okay? You want to find the y value, and then you choose the correct graph, all right? So if your graph don't look that clear, you can enlarge that a little bit, all right? So this one, you can go ahead, give it a really quick calculation, right? We're gonna calculate a little bit in here. Okay, so for the first one, we have a y equal to absolute value of x plus 1. Look at that, this plus 1 is outside the absolute value. So this one is actually moving up for 1 unit, okay, because this one is positive and it's outside the y one. So this one is compared to this one, compared to y equal to absolute value of x. This one is moving up for 1 unit. So like something like that, okay? So this is y equal to absolute value of x plus 1. This one is just y equal to absolute value of x. All right. So if we have x equal to -3, how much is y? Y will be -3 absolute value plus 1, right? And the absolute value of 3 is +3. So 3 plus 1 will be 4. So this will be 4. Okay. And then you plug x equal to -2 in. So y will be -2 absolute value plus 1. So absolute value, everything come out from absolute value will be positive, right? So that's 2 plus 1, okay? And then you can have x equal to -1. Y will be absolute value of -1 plus 1. Absolute value of -1 is +1. So this whole thing will be 2, right? When x equal to 0, y will be 0 absolute value plus 1. 0 absolute value is still 0. So 0 plus 1 is 1. All right. And if you plug a positive 1, 1, 2, 3, actually, when you plug up this positive, actually is also equal to 2, right? Because 1 absolute value is equal to 2. When you have a positive 2, it's also 3 because, positive, -2 absolute value will be always positive, okay? So that is how you calculate this one right here. If you really don't want to do this one by hand, as I mentioned earlier, you can plug this whole thing into the calculator, okay? Oh, now we're gonna clear everything out. All right, and then we can just graph this one is the absolute value of x. Okay, and then remember this plus 1 is outside 1. All right, and then we graph. So yeah, that is the y equal to absolute value of x moving up for 1 unit. Okay, moving up for 1 unit. And if you go to second table, you can see all these answer in here. Okay, all these answer we just calculate. Look at this one right here. We just calculate by hand, right? And then yeah. When y equal to -3, we have when x equal to -3, we have y equal to 4, right? And then when we have x equal to -2, y is 3, right? So you can see yeah, we just calculate this one right here, and when x is 0, y is 1. All right, and when x is 1, y is 2 in here. So you know the basic, but if you, as long as you understand, and if you don't want to calculate by hand, that's okay to me, right? You can always using calculator to help a little bit, all right? But you just have to know the concept in here, okay? And a graph, of course, this is not a straight line, it's not facing down, right? Should be facing up, okay? So should be facing up, and then also move up for 1 unit. So this should be the correct answer, okay? Any questions? As I mentioned earlier, if you have any question, you want to go ahead, jump in and ask, okay? I don't really want it.
I have one question.
Yes.
I have one question. absolute value signs on the calculator?
Okay, I'll show you one more time. Yes, good question. You will go to y equal first, right? Let's say we clear everything. And then you go to math. So click on math. And then we will go to the number. And you will see the first one is ABS, is the absolute value. And you hit enter. And then that's how you get the absolute value of X.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So under the math, right here, okay? And then math, you need to go to the second one, the number. And then this is the absolute value, all right? So if your absolute value of -2, look at it, this is +2, all right? Another one I want to show you under the math here is very helpful. This is a fraction decimal point, right? So for example, I can, a lot of time when we do the math, we need to simplify, like I say 8/200, right? So 8/200, when we hit enter, it will be 0.04. This will be decimal point, right? But if I want to keep the exact answer, but I want to lower to the lowest simplified fraction, I can go to math in here and then say, yeah, I want to change this answer into fraction. So you don't have to retype it. You just say, change this one, it automatically carry the answer in here and then hit enter. Oh yeah, 8/200 is equal to 1/25. And this one is a simplified fraction of 8/200. Okay, so if you don't want to simplify by hand, calculator can help you to simplify the fraction as well. Okay, it automatically type it into the decimal point, but if you want a fraction, just go to math and say, I want this one to be fraction. Okay, that one. But if you want to decimal point, of course you can come back to math and say, well, I want a decimal point, right? And this time it will back to the decimal point again. Okay, so math is a very helpful function in here. All right, okay, let's go into the second one. Okay, second question. Some of these, you have to go through the whole section, right? This is section 1.4, so later this is section 1.4 in here. This one you want to, the division is performed by multiply the numerator and denominator by what? That means by the conjugate. Okay, so this one basically the division is performed by multiplying the numerator and denominator by the conjugate of the denominator. So when I'm talking, this one here is if I want to get rid of I from the denominator. Okay, that's section 1.4. I know you probably hear this one a little bit ahead of your current content. But if I want to change this whole thing into a plus bi, right? So that means we want to get rid of I from the denominator. I is a complex number, okay? So whatever I is a complex number, we define I is a complex number in math. So square root of -1 in a real number is undefined, but in a complex number, we define as imaginary number. This is an imaginary number, so that's why it starts with I. Okay, and then if we square both sides, I square will be -1, right? So this one is a little bit different than the real number we're talking about. In a real number, everything square will be positive, right? But this one is called an imaginary number or non-real number or complex number. Okay, so in math, in college algebra, we do have to deal with the complex number. So this one, if I want to get rid of I, here I will need to multiply the conjugate. So what is the conjugate? If you have a plus bi, a minus bi is the conjugate. These two consider the conjugate, right? If you have a plus bi, conjugate is a minus bi. If you have a minus bi, conjugate will be a plus bi. So why these two are the conjugate? Because when you have remember when we have a plus b times a minus b, we multiply equal to a squared minus b squared, right? But if I multiply a plus bi squared times a minus bi squared, this one will be a squared minus, okay, this one will equal to a squared minus bi squared, okay? And a squared, bi squared, now I'm going to have a b squared and then times I squared, and I squared equal to -1. So this whole thing will become a real number, okay? This whole thing become a real number in here. All right, so that means when you multiply the conjugate, this is considered a conjugates, okay? You multiply the conjugates, this whole thing become a real number. All right, so that's what we're trying to do in here. So if I want to get rid of I from the denominator, okay, I will need to multiply 4 plus 7i, and at the same time numerator also need to multiply by the same thing. This whole thing is equal to 1, right? Numerator and denominator are the same. They always simplify equal to 1. So if you have anything times 1 still equal to itself, right? If I have a 2 times 1 still equal to 2. If I have a 3 times 1 still equal to 3. So that means we are not trying to change the value for this one. This one is gonna multiply by 1. It's called transform, okay? We just transform like say, you know, I just want to let you look prettier, basically. All right, so how do you look prettier? I want to get rid of I from the denominator. So I'm to multiply this one right here, right? Just like girls, you do the makeup, but your core value still did not change. Even you do a little bit makeup, right? But you still yourself, you don't change it to someone else. Okay, so your core value is still the same in here. All right, so now my denominator will be 4 squared minus 7i squared, right? Numerator, I just need to FOIL it in. I have a 5 plus 7i times 4 plus 7i. I just have to FOIL it in, okay? I don't have a formula for the numerator. All right. Ooh. Trying to go to next page. Okay, so we have 4 squared is 16, right? 7i squared will be 49i squared. All right, if I do the denominator first, I squared, remember we said earlier, this you do have to remember I squared equal to -1. So this will be minus 49 times -1. And 49 times -1, this will be plus 49. And look at it, my denominator, it's plus 16, that's 5, 65. Look at it, my denominator will be just 65, okay? And how much is my numerator? I have to go to calculate my numerator, right? So I multiply 5 times this whole thing. So this is 5 times 4 plus 7i, okay? And then plus 7i also need to times 4 plus 7i, okay? And I just multiply 1 by 1 in. So that's 20 plus 35i, and then this will be 28i, right? And then plus this one, 7i times 7i will be 49i squared, okay? All right, so I combine a like term. All right, I and I is the like term. So 35 plus 28, this will give you what, 63i? All right, correct me if I'm wrong. 35 plus 28, 65. Okay. Okay, someone is already in. All right, and then I square, remember I square is -1, so I will have a plus 49 times -1, right? So we're gonna have a 20, actually need to minus 49, okay? These two are the like terms, so I write down to the front, and then plus 63i, all right? Okay, so now we have a, we have a 20 minus 49 will be negative 29, right? And then plus 63i, okay, divided by 65. You can leave this one as a final answer, or if you want to write down two of them, that's okay. All right, and then this 63 over 65i. So this is called consider a plus bi format. Okay, so this one you don't have I in a denominator. Okay, and then this part is a real number part. This one is the complex number part. All right, if you have something here, if you have a common factor, numerator and denominator, you do need to simplify, okay? Just like I said, you cannot leave the 2 over 4 as a final answer. You always need to simplify into 1 over 2, all right? If you do the 2 over 4 in the final answer, math counter is totally wrong. Even these two are the same, right? So always simplify. Always simplify the final answer. Simplify final answer always. Okay? Always simplify the final answer. Very important. All right? And we can see these don't have any common factors, so this will be the final answer. Okay, and if you don't like to simplify by hand, as I said earlier, you can type it in here, right? And it will show you how to simplify in a calculator. Okay. Any questions? Any questions? All right, so that is 1.4 already. Yeah, that section is on the 1.4. Okay, so that's why if you like I say, if you don't understand right away, you can come back after you finish 1.4. You can come back to the video again, okay, and then you can review that one more time in here. All right, the number 3 here is the find the 7 order pairs to the equation and then determine the graph. Okay, you can see this one is x squared, so this is not a straight line. This one would be the parabola. Okay, either facing up or facing down. All right, and I usually tell people the facing up or down, look at the x squared coefficient. So even I have a 1 minus x squared, I can write down this one is negative x squared plus 1, right? These two are the same. Okay, so my coefficient a here is less than 0. So we always say less than 0 is kind of the safe phase. So how does safe phase look at that? This is a safe phase, right? Negative. Look at it. Think this is a negative phase. All right. And if a is greater than 0, this is what? Positive phase. So this positive phase will be like a smiley face. Okay. So if you have a y equal to negative x squared, this one is facing down, all right. If you have a y equal to positive x squared, this one will be facing up, will be a smiley face, facing up. All right, so it's very easy to remember that way. And then you have a plus 1 here, so that means this set face moving up for 1 unit, something like that. Okay, so you can see the correct answer. If you know the character here, this will be look at the only correct answer. All right. If you really do not know, you can plug this 1 by 1 in. We're gonna just calculate 2 points. Okay. So how do we calculate this one by hand? We can have a y equal to 1 minus x squared, right? So when x equal to negative 3, this will be y will be 1 minus negative 3 squared. Look at that, this negative need to be squared, all right? And then the negative square will be positive 9, okay? So you have a 1 minus 9, this will be negative 8, all right? And then let's calculate one more time in here. When x is negative 2, your y gonna be 1 minus negative 2 squared. Again, if you have this negative 2 squared and this negative 2 squared, these two are very different. A lot of people always make confused on these two, right? This one, the negative doesn't have a square, so you carry over. So this will be negative, and then 2 squared will be 4. All right. This one, on the other hand, this one negative does have a square, so negative square will be positive. So this whole thing will be positive 4. All right, so very important. Okay, so we have a 1 minus, this minus is carried over from the equation, right? But the negative 2 square is positive 4. So 1 minus 4 is negative 3. All right, so if you calculate by hand, you do have to be very careful with the positive and negative, right? And like I said, if you don't really want to calculate by hand, yes, you can using the calculator, you can put this whole thing in a calculator. Okay, so we have a 1 minus x, and then this d4 here is a square. Okay, so I can graph them, and that this whole thing is the graphing. All right, so you can see, you can match the graph really easily in here, right? It's facing down because the coefficient of the x square is negative, so it's facing down. Okay, and you can go to second graph is table. All right, so we just calculate the x equal to negative 3, right? So we got a negative 8. All right, so when x equal to negative 3, we have a y equal to negative 8. We have x equal to negative 2, right? And y is equal to negative 3, so that is right here. But like I said, if you don't want to calculate by hand, you can, in this table right here, you can copy it from this all table, right? All the number in here, all right? But you still need to know how to, what does that mean, okay? You know, like a negative 2 square, this way and this way, the difference, right? You do need to know how to calculate, but I just don't want to bore you with all the detail, right? If you know how to calculate, I don't mind you just, want to be a little bit faster, and then you come to the table and look at each one in here, right? All right, this is on 1.7, so 1.7 section here will be solve the absolute value inequality. All right, so this one right here, you have to remember 2 formula. Okay, so let me just go ahead, open this PowerPoint very quick. Like I said, the PowerPoint is very useful, right? Because it does giving you the let's go to, it does giving you the formula. Okay, so this is the formula in here. You do have to remember the absolute value when absolute value of x greater than a number. Like I said, if I have an absolute value of x less than a, all right, a is a positive number, and the solution says x will be greater than negative a less than a. All right, so for example, x is less than 2, right? And then if I get rid of absolute value, x will be less than 2, greater than negative 2. So this will be negative 2, positive 2. So it will be right here. Okay, so this will be the solution for this one right here. So I usually think about, all right, let me show you the formula. Oh, we don't have a formula here. We're supposed to have. All right, it didn't have a formula in here. Okay, so right here, yeah, it does have a formula. Solving an absolute value inequality, right? This is using U. All right, so if we have a U, absolute value of U is less than C, right? U should be between negative, well, this should be negative C. So for some reason, this book didn't type it wrong. All right, I cannot change this one right here, right now, but it won't let me change in here. But this should be greater than negative C, and then less than positive C. Okay, all right, so that is right here. How do you understand this one right here? I usually tell people, say, if you have a less than, like a thinker, you live away from campus, right? So if you live away from TCC, whatever the campus you have, right? And this is less than, okay, so less than less than 2 miles. Okay, so like I said, you live in a TCC away from TCC less than 2 miles. All right, so what does less than 2 miles mean? That means you can live in a 1.5 mile away. You can live 1 mile away, right? That's all, or 1.99 miles away. That's all less than 2 miles. So you have x is greater than -2 and less than +2. So -2 is, maybe this is east direction, this is west direction, right? So you live 1.5 miles from the east or from west, that's all less than 2 miles. So that's the absolute value in here, right? On the other hand, if I have an absolute value of x greater than 5, what does that mean? Well, greater than 5, how do I graph this one right here? So I'm going to have a -5 in here, +5 in here. So less than 5, that means this is greater than 5 miles. Oh, what is greater than? We're going to usually just think it's more than 5 miles. All right. So if you think you live more than 5 miles away from campus, right? So you might have a 10 miles, you might have a 20 miles. Okay, those are all greater than 5 miles. So if I get rid of this absolute value, I have x is gonna be greater than 5, or x will be less than -5. So or less than -5 should be going to the left hand side. So you have these two interval of the notation. Okay, so this one is just only one compound inequality. This one you have a two inequality in here. So more than 5 miles, so you have a greater than 5 or less than -5. Okay, and I also want to see how do you write down the interval notation. Okay, in college algebra, a lot of time the book, also the test, want to use the interval notation. So what is the interval notation? Basically, you write down a smaller number on the left, and then write down the large number on the right, and then using a comment to separate them. Okay, so for example, if I have a x less than 2, greater than 2, -2, so this interval will be -2, 2. All right, so that's your interval. Okay, and how do I write down this one in a two number? Well, greater than, that means my smaller number is 5. My large number will be infinity. Okay, less than 5, that means my less than -5. My -5 actually is the largest number. Look at it, this is going all the way to the left. So my smaller number will be -infinity. All right. So that's another way is the interval. Okay, let me give you an example. If you have an equal sign, if you have an x greater than 1, less than or equal to 10, okay, how do you write down this interval? If you have an equal sign, you will using the bracket. All right, so 1 here will be parenthesis, 10 here will be bracket. Greater than or equal to 1, less than or equal to 10 will be both bracket. All right. One thing is negative infinity and positive infinity always using parentheses, because you never ever going to be equal to the infinity. You can always approach to infinity, but not equal to the infinity. So infinity always using parentheses, okay? And the negative, always the negative infinity, always the smallest one. So this is always on the left hand side. Positive infinity, always the largest one. So this one is always on the right hand side. All right. So that's pretty much the 3 situations in here, right? So if you go through the PowerPoint here, it will show you a little bit the interval in here, okay? And this is solving the compound inequality interval. I think we will have a question here as well. All right, so how do I solve this one for number 4? Number 4, you write down, we're gonna convert into 1 minus write down a little bit clearly. Okay, absolute value of 1 minus x, right? So this 9 is greater than this one. That means I usually say this alligator is facing 9. So if I write down this one in here, this will be less than 9. All right, write down the absolute value first so you know which one to use. So if I get rid of absolute value, this will be 1 minus x will be less than 9 and greater than negative 9. All right, so this will be one compound inequality. And how do I solve this one right here? I will get rid of 1 first. So I minus 1 on all of them, right? If I minus 1 on all of them, this one cancel out. So this will be negative x. Less than 9 minus 1 will be 8. Negative 9 minus 1, this one will be negative 10, right? Now I will have to divide everyone by negative 1 in here, okay? One thing is if you have a negative number, divide by or multiply the negative number, you have to change inequality direction. So this is less than, it will become greater than, this greater than, this become less than. So 8 divided by negative 1, you have a negative 8. 10, negative 10 divided by negative 1, you have a positive 10, right? So if I write down in a little bit small number on the left, large number on the right, so this will be greater than negative 8, less than 10. Look at that. My alligator mouse, this one is facing 10. So when I write down this way, this is still facing 10, right? This one compare x and negative 8. This alligator mouse facing x, grab x. So when I write down this one right here, this is still facing x, okay? So the reason if you write down this way right here is a little bit easier to write down the interval notation. So my interval notation will be negative 8 to 10, okay? It didn't have an equal sign, so it will be all parentheses in here. All right, any questions? Okay, let's look at number 5. How do I solve this one right here? What's the restriction on a variable in this called rational function? Okay, so one thing here is the denominator cannot be 0, right? When you're trying to do this kind of equation, your denominator cannot be 0. I usually tell people, say, how do you know your denominator cannot be 0? Remember 2 words. Okay, if you have a 0 divided by a number, that's okay. Okay, 0 divided by 5, that's equal to 0. So any 0 divided by a non-zero number is okay. But if you have a number divided by a 0, that's considered a no. All right, if you have a 5 divided by 0, this is called undefined. Okay, undefined. All right, so that means the calculator won't be able to do that. It will give you the error message. All right, so that's undefined. All right, so NO is a no. Okay, that's okay. 0 on the top is okay. All right, so the restriction on this one right here, look at this one right here. Your x, number 5, your x minus 4 cannot be 0. So that means the x cannot be equal to 4. Okay, same thing as the second fraction. X plus 5 cannot be 0. So if solve for x here, x cannot be equal to negative 5 because this will make a denominator equal to 0. Okay, so the restriction here is x cannot be equal to using the, look at this, using the ascending order. So even you got these two numbers right, you have to write down carefully. So you have to type the first one cannot be equal to negative 5, and then the second one cannot be equal to 4. Okay, so using the ascending order. I usually tell people, say you need to read it at least twice before you answer the question, right? So be very careful. You have to using the ascending order here. Okay. Some people say, how about the right hand side? Well, right hand side, if you do a little bit of factoring, 2x minus 1 over x squared plus x minus 20. If you factor x squared plus x minus 20, this 20 you can factor into two numbers, 5 and negative 4. 5 times negative 4, you will get a negative 20. 5 plus negative 4 will give you 1, positive 1x. So that means this one I can factor into x plus 5 and then x minus 4. All right, so this denominator will be 2x minus 1, x plus 5, x minus 4. So that means my LCD here, look at that, x minus 4, x plus 5 is the same denominator as the left-hand side, right? So I already exclude x cannot be equal to negative 5, x cannot be equal to 4. So they already covered in here. All right, so that is this one right here, okay? So the restriction in here, the restriction in this one, this is considered a domain. Okay, what is a domain? Domain is the x value that a function can have. Okay, this function x cannot have a negative 5 or positive 4. So you have to get rid of those. All right, this one is still the 1.7, right? How do you solve this inequality? And as I mentioned earlier, this is greater than. All right, greater than, you're gonna have a two compound inequality. So 2x minus 4 greater than 10. If I get rid of absolute value, right? So how do I get rid of absolute value? This is different, more than 10 miles away. So I'm going to have a 2x minus 4 greater than positive 10. Okay, so pretty much the first one is exactly the same as this one without the absolute value, or the opposite. All right, so how do I write down the opposite? 2x minus 4 greater than become less than, positive 10 become negative 10. So that's the opposite. Okay, so when you have a greater than, you're gonna have more than, you're gonna have a 2 inequality, and then we just solve this one. All right, so you add a 4 on both sides, right? So that's 2x greater than 14 divided by 2. One thing is this is all positive, so you don't have to change you don't need to change the inequality direction. So this will be x greater than 7, right? Plus 4 plus 4, 2x will be less than negative 6. Divided by 2, x will be less than negative 3. All right, so we have to write down in the interval notation. So how do you write down the interval? You can do a little bit graphing, it will be easier, right? So that's 7, greater than 7, so going to the right-hand side. All right, so this one will be 7 to infinity, okay? Don't have an equal sign, so use the parentheses. This one, negative 3 less than, is going to the left-hand side, all right? So this one will be negative infinity to negative 3, again, parentheses, okay? Do not have an equal sign in here. All right, so now we're giving you the greater than and less than we have one we have earlier, right? Any questions? So this is your last section for the chapter, right? So when we review that, we already covered that section, all right? This section is from 1.4. 1.4 is about the I, okay? How do you write down the standard form for A plus BI? All right, so this one, it didn't have a formula, so we just need to multiply the in and simplify, okay? Multiply the in and simplify. All right, you can FOIL it in, you can using 2, but sometimes I tell people, say you can just break down into 2 steps, make it easier, okay? That's 7 plus I. All right, you can do this one right here, do this one right here, right? So you 2 times 2 gonna have 4 items, but sometimes people kind of lost the track on 4 items. So if that's the case, you can just give yourself a little bit break using negative 2 times the parentheses. Okay, and then plus 7i times the parentheses. Okay, this one actually become much easier, right? And then you just multiply it in. So negative 2 times 7, you have a negative 14. Negative 2 times I, you got negative I. And then plus 49i plus 7i squared. I times I, you're going to have an I squared. Okay, and remember I squared is equal to negative 1. All right, So we're gonna have a negative 14. These two are the like term, right? So you combine them together. So that will giving you 47i. Okay, I here is negative 1, so you're gonna minus 7, right? 7 times negative 1 minus 7. And then these two are the like term, combine them together. Okay, so this will be negative 21 plus 47i, and that's called consider A plus BI form, right? Your A here is negative 21, your B here is 47, so BI is 47i. All right, so that's how you do this type of question. Okay, multiply FOIL in, or just break down into two parentheses in here. Any questions so far? Oh, another way come back here is with the solution set is 5. 5 here is a Greek alphabet. Okay. If there's no solution, this 5, that means empty set. Empty set, that means if you don't have a solution for this inequality equation, that'll be an empty set. Okay, that's this one. And of course, we do have a solution here, right? So when we have a solution, we write down a solution. Okay. Remember, it said a solution set in the interval notation. So you have to write down this way for the interval notation. Okay, the interval notation in here. All right, number 8. Here, this one is a quadratic equation, right? So determine the x-intercept or the graph, the metric function in this graph. You can use negative 10 to 10, right? And then you can graph this one right here. Okay, so this is basically just telling you can do a little bit graphing in here. Okay, all right. So we can put this whole thing in a calculator and then graph them. Hold on. Okay, so we're gonna go to y in here, right? X squared plus 2x minus 3. Oh. All right, and then graph them in here. All right, so we do have an x-intercept, right? And then this graph, it looks like which one? We are going to match this one in here, right? So if you have this one right here, so looks like I think it looks like a C. Look at the most accurate one in here. Okay, so you can see like yeah, if you set up the same window here. Okay, we set up the window, yeah, negative 10 and positive 10, right? That's the default one in here. Okay, so they look like this one right here. And we can see there's a 2x intercept in here, right? So we can look at the 2x intercept. Okay. This x-intercept here, this looks like 1 and 0. This is 1, 2, 3, negative 3. So when x is negative 3, it looks like it's 0. When x is 1, it's also 0. If you're not quite sure, we can go to the table to make a double check. Look at it. Yeah, when x is negative 3, y it is 0. Okay, and when x equal to 1, when x equal to 1 right here, look at when x equal to 1, y is also 0. So that's the y-intercept. All right, so that's exactly how you do from here. So this graphing should be pretty straightforward, right? Okay, number 9 is another inequality solution in here. Okay, this one, if I switch it into the right hand side, okay, 3x minus 15. Okay, this big mouse is facing the absolute value. So when I write down this first, this will be greater than 3. Okay, look at it. I write down this one in here. So I don't like to write down absolute value on the left hand side so I can see a little bit better. So this whole thing greater than 3. So we're gonna get rid of absolute value, and then we're gonna have a 2 inequality. This is greater than or more than, right? More than 3. So you're gonna have a 2 inequality solution in here. So the first one is pretty much the same without the absolute value. The second one will be the opposite. So change greater than into less than, change 3 into -3, and then we just solve them, right? So solve this one should be pretty straightforward now. You get rid of 15, so we have a 3x greater than or equal to 18, right? Divided by 3, so x will be greater than or equal to 6, okay? Plus 15 on all sides, all right? And then this will be 12 divided by 3, all right? So less than or equal to 4, right? So how do we graph this one right here? Less than or equal to 4, that means going to the left, okay? Greater than or equal to 6, that means going to the right. So this one has an equal sign, so we have a bracket 6 to infinity, all right? This one will be negative infinity to 4, bracket, because it has an equal sign. Bracket like an equal sign here, look at it, okay? This one, and then this one, all right? So bracket, every time you have a bracket, is using for the equal sign, all right? Okay, so when you go through the homework, do a little bit practice, you will get much better, all right? Because this one was in a random order, so that you don't see like from 1.1, 1.2. That's why you're jumping around, because it's in a random order in here. Now we back to this question is 1.1, should be really easy one, right? So now we go back to 1.1, should be the easiest one. Okay, so this one you want to determine the x-intercept, y-intercept in here, right? So we can just look at this one right here. We have an x-intercept, the graph passing the x-axis. So the intercept here, x will be 3, right? And then the y-intercept here, this one, y here, y should be 4. Okay, so that should be really easy one. But like I said, this is in a random order, so okay, number 11 here is just solving this inequality, okay? So how do I solve this inequality for number 11? We have a 2x plus 4 greater than 10, right? So we just isolate the 2x first, so we get rid of 4, right? We minus 4 on both sides, and then we're gonna have a 2x is greater than 6, and then we divide it by 2 on both sides, right? So x will be greater than 3. Greater than 3, greater than is going to the right-hand side, all right? Going to the right-hand side. And there's no equal sign, so you're gonna use the parenthesis, not a bracket. This is parenthesis, okay? So yeah, that would be the correct answer. B will be the correct answer, right? And then you need to type your answer using the interval notation. Look at it. You have to use the interval notation. So we have to use 3 greater than 3, so 3 to infinity. All right, so that's the interval notation in here. Okay, any questions? Let's check any questions so far. All right, you can always jump in and talk, okay? And like I said, usually we have a little bit time at the end of the course. So if you want to have a one-on-one, I usually stay on the, after the class. So if you want a one-on-one question or something, you can also, if you don't feel comfortable to ask right now, you can have a one-on-one Q&A later on, okay? But I would rather you to go ahead and ask if you have. All right, number 12, this one is called a compound inequality. So what is a compound inequality? That means you have a 2 inequality sign. All right, that's called compound inequality. And actually, the solving the compound or single inequality is pretty much the same, right? We do that all at once, okay? You don't want to break them down, because if you break them down one-on-one later on, you also have to combine them together and become even more work. All right, so if you have this kind of compound inequality, just go ahead, do it all together. All right, so I'm going to get rid of these 2. So this is minus 2, right? In order to get rid of these 2, I have to add a 2. So I add a 2 on all of them in here, right? And then this will be canceled out. So we're going to have a 3x less than or equal to 9 greater than -5 plus 2 -3, right? We divide by 3. The good thing is 3 is positive, okay? As long as the number you divide is positive, you don't change the inequality direction. So this will be still greater than -3 divided by 3 will be -1. 9 divided by 3 will be 3. All right. So if you do a little bit of graphing, this will be from -1 to 3. 3 will be a bracket, -1 will be the parenthesis. Okay, so interval is pretty much the same as the graph, right? So -1 parenthesis 3 bracket in here. So that's called the interval notation, the interval. Okay, this is considered the interval notation in here. All right, it's telling you type your answer in the interval notation. All right, so instead of typing this inequality, you will need to type this one in here. Okay, so that's the interval. All right, this one you want to find the x-intercept, right? And then graphing using this one, finding the x-intercept. So where's the x-intercept in here? Basically, x-intercept is y will be 0, right? So this one you have a negative outside, so it must be facing down. So you either A or B, okay? So when I know this one is a negative one, so it's a set face, so it's facing down. All right, this one is positive. These 2 are the positive. So so you can get rid of C and D in here because this one is negative. So you either have A or B. All right. So if you do not know, like I said, you can use the calculator. Okay. All right. So we go to y equal to, right? How do you graph the negative at the very beginning? Well, you have to using this parenthesis first. Okay, if you're using the minus in here, you're giving you the error message because this one is not minus. The first one here is negative, so you have to use this one, the one with parenthesis, negative. Do not use the minus in here. All right. The second one, you have x minus 4. Now you use the minus in here. Okay, so sometimes it can be a little bit confused. So x, now you have a minus 4. Now you have to use this one, minus 4 in here. Question, what's the question? The first one, negative, you have to use the parenthesis, this one right here. Okay, so if you look at the negative one, that's how you do the negative one in here. All right, and then we graph. All right, so we can check our window. I'll check our window. So yeah, our window here is -10 and 10, right? So that's how the graph will look like. Okay, so looks like we have 2. This will be, since this is 10, right? So this each one is 1. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have an x-intercept here is in 2 and 6. And we can check this graphing in here, 2 and 6. Let's see, 2 and 6. Yeah, when x is 2, y is 0, right? And then when x is 6, y is also 0. So those 2 are the x-intercept. All right, those 2 are the x-intercept. So 2 and 6. So this should be the correct graph, not that one. Okay, so B is the correct graph in here. All right. So the x-intercept here will be 2, 6, right? That's how you do this one. Okay, 14 and 15, this should be much easier. This is 1.4, right? So 14 and 15, okay, so this one is minus. So we have a plus 5i. I think that's plus. Yeah, 8 plus 5i. You get rid of first parenthesis. and then get rid of second one. So you're gonna minus 9, and don't forget you have to distribute a negative in. So negative become positive, okay? Positive 3i. All right, and then you combine the like term together. 8 minus 9 is negative 1, 5i plus 3i, that's ai. Okay, you want to simplify, write down a plus bi form, so you write down the number for I at the end. So let's consider a plus bi. A plus bi, your a here is negative 1, your b here is a, right? So that's how you write that. Okay. All right, number 15 here, this one is plus. Okay, so 4 minus 4i plus is easier. You just get rid of parentheses. You don't have to change anything. All right, minus, don't forget you have to distribute to the second one as well. Okay, so 4 plus 3 is 7. Negative 4i plus 6i is plus 2i. All right, so that is 7 plus 2i. That's your answer. Okay, so that should be relatively easy. So some of them is easier than the other. Okay, this one is from, this is considered a fraction or rational function, right? What is the value of the variable that make a denominator as 0? Remember we talked the okay and no, right? Okay, that's okay. All right, if you have a number divided by 0, that is considered a no. All right, so we have a denominator here, both are x plus 3, so x plus 3 cannot be 0. But if you using the x plus 3 equal to 0, x will be negative 3, right? So that means x cannot be equal to negative 3. We'll make a no here. Okay, so this one right here is a what value of the variable will make a denominator as 0 will be x is negative 3. Okay, x equal to negative 3 will make it to the 0. All right, and we're gonna solve this equation. Okay, how do you solve this equation in here? All right, we like I say, we usually say if you don't like the fraction, let's get rid of fraction, right? So all right, so the least common denominator here, LCD here, will be x plus 3. So I'm gonna multiply both sides by x plus 3. Okay, multiply both sides by x plus 3. This x plus 3 will be canceled out. So this will be just 2x there. Okay, one thing here is a do need to multiply by x plus 3. All right, a need to multiply the entire parenthesis. And then the second one, x plus 3 cancel out. So this will be just minus 6. All right, and this one you just multiply it in. So this will be ax plus a times 3 will be 24 minus 6. Okay, so you just follow the process in here, and then we can combine these two together first. This will be 18, right? And then you have a 2x. Okay, and then I can minus ax in here, minus ax on both sides. All right, so this will cancel out. 2x minus ax will be negative 6x equal to 18, right? And then you divide by both sides by negative 6. So x will be negative 3. All right, what happened in here? We just said it earlier, that x cannot be equal to negative 3. And then I have this solution here is x equal to negative 3. So guess what? Since this is our only solution, but this is solution against the definition we have earlier. So therefore, this one will be no solution. Okay, so what does no solution mean? That means the solution set will be the empty set, will be the 5. So this correct answer will be C. Okay, so now you can tell now we have this one has a empty set. The solution set is an empty set. okay? Because x, we just go through this whole thing and then find out the x value, and then the x value should be equal to -3, but -3 actually also make the denominator as 0. So therefore, we have to get rid of the only solution we have. We have to discuss this one. All right, because it make a denominator as 0. So therefore, there's no solution in here. Okay, solution set will be empty or 5. Solution set is empty set. Any question about this one? Why we got an empty set here? Because we just go through everything, right? And then we find out the final answer should be x equal to -3. But we just make the determination earlier, say x cannot be equal to -3. So we have to get rid of the only one we have. So therefore, this equation, this solution, there's no solution for that. Okay, or the solution set is an empty set. Any questions? We actually have only 3 more questions. Okay, the rest will be the answer. All right, we only have 3 more questions there. Okay, number 17. Okay, we're gonna solve this one right here and then graph that. All right, so how do we solve this one? One minus x over 5 greater than 6. Okay, sometimes people, if you don't like a fraction, you can get rid of this fraction. All right, how do you get rid of fraction? I can multiply both sides by the denominator 5. Multiply by 5. Okay, since 5 is a positive, so I don't have to change the inequality. All right, so this will be still greater than. All right, 6 times 5 will be 30, right? 5 times 1 is 5. And then this 5 and this 5 will be cancelled out. Okay, but you do need to have a 5 times 1 first. Okay, and then this 2 5 cancel out, so this will be minus x, right? And then I minus 5 on both sides, so I have a negative x will be greater than 25. All right, now I have to multiply both sides or divide by both sides by -1. So that means I have to change the inequality direction. So this will be x will be less than -25. So -20 less than is going to the left-hand side. So this one interval will be from -infinity to -25. Okay. All right, so that should be looks like this one right here, less than -25, right? Using the parentheses because there's no equal sign. So don't choose A, choose C in here. Okay, and you do have this interval notation in here. All right, so that's 17. Let's see what is on 18 in here. 18 here is also want to solve this one right here. Okay, so how do we solve this 18? A little bit of fraction. I know sometimes people do not like a fraction, right? We can factor, look at that, this 9x plus 18 right here. We can pull the 9 out, factor the 9 out. So this will be just x plus 2. Okay, so that means this fraction I can write down as 5 divided by 9 times x plus 2 equal to 9 over x plus 2 minus 4 over 9. All right, so if we look at this one right here, let's see, we have a denominator is x plus 2. So x plus 2 cannot be 0, so that means x cannot be -2. That's something we have to keep it in mind. So if it happened at the end, we only have one solution and x equal to -2, we still have to get rid of that. Okay, all right. So let's see, we're gonna multiply both sides by the LCD. LCD, the least common denominator, LCD here will be 9 times x plus 2. All right, so if I multiply both sides by 9 times x plus 2. Let's see what happened. All right, everyone need to times this one. All right, this one had to using the parentheses and then have a 9 times x plus 2, right? This whole thing will be all canceled out, so this will be just 5 there, okay? These two cancel out, so you're gonna have a 9 times 9, 9 times 9. The second one, 9 cancel out, but you still have a x plus 2 there. So this is negative 4. Negative 4 need to times x plus 2, okay? All right, so now we can go ahead, give it a calculation. So this will be minus 4x minus 8. All right, negative 4 times 2 will be negative 8. Okay, so we combine the like term together. 81 minus 8, how much is it? 73, right? All right, and then we're going to minus 73 on both sides, okay? So we're going to have a negative 4 equal to negative 3, so this will be negative 6, what? 8. All right, divide both sides by negative 4, so x will be positive 68 divided by 4. 68 divided by 4 will be what? 117, right? Yeah, x equal to 17. All right, let's see, combine to the one we have earlier. We said x cannot be equal to negative 2, but my x is not negative 2. My x is 17, so that's okay. This one is the solution. All right, because we said earlier x cannot be negative 2, right? But my solution here is not negative 2. My solution here is 17. So this is okay. All right. So that is this one right here. So our solution set here is x will be 17. Okay. All right. This one is a little bit application from 1.5. Okay. The area of a rectangle of wall of a barn is 180 square feet. Okay, that's the area, square feet. Its length is 8 feet longer than the width. Find the length and the width of the wall of the barn in here. All right, so this one you do have to know a little bit of formula for the area. Okay. So, what is the rectangle area? Rectangular shape. All right, so the rectangular, that means all the 4 corners are 90 degrees or perpendicular, right? And then this is length. The opposite side are equal, okay? And then the width also equal. So the perimeter here is the sum of all the sides. So you're gonna have a 2L plus 2W, or sometimes we just say P perimeter is equal to 2L plus 2W because 4 sides. You got 4 sides here. All right, so add them all together. But the area for the rectangle is length times width. Okay, 2 dimensions. So this one is multiplied length times width. Okay. All right, so knowing these 2 formula, now we can do this one. This is our last one. Okay. This rectangle is 180 feet. So my A here is 180 square feet. All right, or feet square. Okay, that's 180 square feet. All right, and what is the relationship of the length and width? It said the length is 8 feet longer than the width. Okay, so how do we write down this one? Length, so L is 8 plus W. Okay, the length is 8 feet. The length is 8 feet longer than the width. All right, so now we have a 2 variable, 2 equation. We're gonna plug it in, right? So we actually don't really need this formula. We don't need this formula, but this one I just giving you that one just in case sometimes we have to use that. But this time we just need to use this formula, right? So my area is 180, all right? And then 180, we are this whole thing equal to 180, right? And then L is A plus W, all right? And I also need to times W, okay? All right, so now we're gonna have to solve for this one right here. So how do I solve for this one? We can multiply that in AW plus W squared equal to 180. Okay. All right, so actually this one is called consider a quadratic equation. Quadratic equation here is ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. And you can do the factoring or you can do the quadratic equation formula. This quadratic equation formula is negative b plus minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. All right. So you can using this quadratic equation formula or you can do the factoring, right? So we're going to have to let the one side equal to 0. So we're going to have to minus 180 on both sides. So w squared plus AW minus 180 will equal to 0. Okay. And let's see if we can factor this one or not. Okay, let's see 180 we can factor into 18 and 10. But 18 and 10, oh yeah, I think that work, right? 18 and 10 difference is 8. All right, so we don't have to, we just do the factoring, which is very important. All right, so we're gonna factor W plus 18, W minus 10. Okay, we factor negative 180 into positive and negative. Multiply will be negative 180, right? And then these two added together is 8. All right, so we're going to have a W equal to negative 18 because you have a W plus 18 equal to 0, right? And then W minus 10 equal to 0. W will be equal to 10. But since this is our real life application, so we don't want the width as negative. So we're going to get rid of this one. We're going to keep this one. All right. So your width here will be 10 feet. Okay. And how much is my length? My length here is 8 plus W. So 10 plus 8. So the width here is 18 feet. All right. Okay, so if you don't know how to do the factoring, I actually have a little bit short video on how to do the factoring. I will send you the announcement as well. But this simple factoring will solve this one, so we don't really need this quadratic equation formula. Okay, later on we might have to use this formula, but right now factoring just work. So factoring work actually is easier that way. All right. Okay, so that's all the question review for the entire chapter. So that's how your test gonna exactly pretty much look like. Okay. Any questions? Any questions?
Can you send us that worksheet?
I'm sorry,
Can you
say it one
send
more
us
time.
that worksheet? Do you mind sending me the worksheet, the one that you just worked on? Do you
Oh,
mind
you mean
sending
this
me
question
the
sheet, this one?
the worksheet, the one that you
Yeah,
just
Yes,
worked on?
Yeah, I will post it on the, let me,
With all your calculations on
with
it. All the,
yeah, I can post
with
it in
all
the
your
link to this right
calculations
away,
on it.
so that way I don't forget. Let me go to the, remember, everyone has this link, right? I just post the link in the PowerPoint link. Okay, that's a good question.